From the initial announcement of No Man's Sky at the VGX show in 2013, and over the course of its development in the years following, the potential of No Man's Sky had gained a near unrivaled amount of hype amongst the gaming industry, and it was dubbed as a potentially industry-changing title with its near limitless space exploration. Hype around this game was so big that Hello Games had sought help from gaming industry giants Sony themselves. And a year later, in 2014, they presented the game at E3, which at the time was the first ever independently developed game demonstrated during these centre stage events. Of course, at this point, the hype train had already left the station, but somehow it had gained yet further momentum. And just 3 years after the announcement of the seemingly impossible game, it was due for release in August of 2016 and pre-ordered by hundreds of thousands of people. Come release day itself, No Man's Sky got over 200,000 Steam players at its peak and likely had a similar number playing it on consoles at the same time. However, that is where the good news came to a swift and abrupt halt. The game was slated by players on all platforms for a whole host of performance issues, graphical issues, and not to mention its severe lack of features that Hello Games themselves insisted would be included in the game come launch. Now, Hello Games could have taken the money and ran with it, but fast forward to nearly 8 years later to the present day, and No Man's Sky is seen as a poster for games that overcome the odds after receiving massive initial backlash and then grew into a much loved game that live on for years to come. So, this is the story of how No Man's Sky and Hello Games have managed to achieve the impossible. Now, if you ended up buying No Man's Sky at full price when it was initially released and then decided to get rid of it, I don't blame you. Though, if like me and you bought it at full price, clown, and then kept hanging around for a few years before revisiting it, or you kept it around and still haven't decided to take the plunge all of these years later, this is your sign that that disc needs to be inserted into your console or PC, or you need to reinstall it on your platform, because the difference between No Man's Sky in 2016 and No Man's Sky in 2024 is just staggering. And if you don't currently have No Man's Sky and you're figuring out whether you want to try it or not, this is also your sign to pick up a copy now. You can grab it real cheap on GameVio as well. Check out the link in my description for a cheap copy. I guarantee you will not be disappointed once you get stuck in. So, post-launch and after all of the backlash No Man's Sky was getting, Hello Games went silent. For months. Now, people didn't know if they'd taken the money and ran, or if they were working behind the scenes to fix all of the major problems plaguing the game. But thankfully, it was the latter, and in November of 2016, a few months after their release, they released the first update, and that was the Foundations update. Now, this laid the foundations for future updates for years to come. And yes, that pun was intended. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, the first major content update fixed a bunch of bugs, but it also gave us various game modes, so survival, creative, etc, etc. It gave us base building, freighters, new resources and technology, amongst other things. And sure, these were nice additions, but the fanbase wanted more, and rightly so, because they were promised more. So this didn't really pick up the player count that much. Fast forward to 2017, and then we got the Pathfinder and the Atlas Rises updates, which added exocrafts, visual updates, base sharing, the chance to own multiple ships, an actual storyline, portals, trade improvements, economies, and joint exploration, along with a few other things and small fixes. Now, by this point, we're up to a year after the initial release of No Man's Sky, and whilst Hello Games have got stuck in and added a bunch of new features and graphical improvements, the player count is still significantly dwindling, and it's not even remotely close to even half the player count on launch day. So it's abundantly clear at this point there is still a hell of a lot more work that needs to be done. Now, things went pretty quiet once again after the Atlas Rises update, and with the exception of a few small patch fixes, there wasn't to be another large content update for an entire year. But this next update was huge, and quite frankly, it was going to be a game changer. So, step forward No Man's Sky Next, version 1.5, which came out just before the 2-year anniversary of the initial release. And by far and away, the most important factor of this was the update brought me back to the game. Now, I joke of course, but No Man's Sky Next was a huge success. The player count skyrocketed when this update came out, and for good reason. Next introduced a full multiplayer experience including community events, finally. Also included near unlimited base building, a graphical overhaul, third person mode. Yep, there wasn't always an option for third person, you know. It also brought freighter enhancements, character customization, crafting resources, a UI overhaul, and many, many more things. To this day, the No Man's Sky Next update is classed as one of the biggest and one of the most important in the game's history. As I said, the player count has been elevated really ever since. Granted, it's nowhere near its initial release, but this update was incredibly important. It made people sit up and realise and think, you know what, maybe No Man's Sky is worth trying, and it brought old players back. Now, the future was starting to look just a little brighter for No Man's Sky and Hello Games. Now, before we saw the back of 2018, Hello Games pumped out yet 2 more smaller releases by the names of Abyss and Visions. These introduced things like enhanced aquatic environments, underwater visuals, along with new planetary biomes, more colourful worlds, new fauna, flora, and much more. These were nice additions as well. Players continued to be impressed by the dedication of Hello Games to actually use the money they had made to make the game good and more like they had promised it was going to be. In 2019, the game got yet another huge update which changed the game further still. Introducing No Man's Sky Beyond, also known as No Man's Sky version 2.0. We're now 3 years after the initial release of the game and it is still getting even bigger and better. Beyond introduced a massive expansion of the multiplayer experience including the Anomaly, Nexus missions and so on. It also added virtual reality support, overhaul to base building, NPCs, technology trees, amongst many, many other things. In fact, after the Beyond update, things started ramping up big time for No Man's Sky and Hello Games. In the 8 months following Beyond, we were treated to 3 more major content updates with Synthesis, Living Ship, and Exomech. If you fast forward just another 3 months after that, we got the Crossplay and Desolation updates. I reckon the fact they released this many updates in such a short period of time was helped in part due to the COVID lockdowns where no one had anything better to do. Now, back in 2016, the hype train for No Man's Sky may well have crashed and burned, but in the summer of 2020, the update train was now in full flow, and things were only going to get bigger and better before the year was out. So, just 1 year after No Man's Sky version 2.0, aka Beyond, Hello Games released No Man's Sky version 3.0 and it went by the name of Origins. And this one was fecking huge. It dramatically expanded the No Man's Sky universe, giving us stranger, richer and far more varied universe to explore with much deeper planet diversity, dramatic new terrain and a whole host of new creatures, weather conditions, colossal buildings and more. It was closely followed by the Next Generation update, which introduced a major graphical enhancements and smoother performance to truly bring No Man's Sky to the next generation consoles. By now, the reviews of No Man's Sky were starting to reflect the updates released over the past couple of years, as they started edging towards positive rather than negative responses. In 2021, Hello Games released a Companions update which gave us the ability to have pets, and following that was the Expeditions update which gave us a totally new game mode allowing us to start a journey across the stars. We start on the same planet as many other players and we can go on this journey together. If it wasn't already, multiplayer was now fully ingrained into No Man's Sky. The game still gets multiple brand new expeditions every year, most recently the Omega expedition as well, which was damn good. We got a further visual overhaul with prisms and on-planet settlements with frontiers. 2022 started off with a bang and a major overhaul to Sentinels with the aptly named No Man's Sky Sentinel. Now, this was then followed by the introduction of piracy with No Man's Sky Outlaws and a major overhaul and vast improvements to everything freighter related with No Man's Sky Endurance. One of the most impressive feats that Hello Games pulled off in my opinion came about towards the back end of 2022, and that was launching No Man's Sky on the Nintendo Switch. Like, how on earth they managed to get a game where you can explore a literal universe onto a small, mostly handheld console is beyond me. It's seriously impressive, and it also brought the game to even more people, and not only that, they also released yet another update around the same time before the year was out with No Man's Sky Waypoint. No Man's Sky was added to yet another platform in 2023, the Mac. Now, the game is playable on all platforms, barring mobile I guess, so the player base for No Man's Sky has about reached its maximum potential. 2023 also saw some amazing updates in the form of Fractal, Interceptor and the Echoes updates, which brought a new race, the autophagy of the game, new starships, new stories, and many, many more improvements. But there was one thing lurking just around the corner which posed a massive threat to No Man's Sky, and that was Bethesda's Starfield. Now, this was a game with an insane budget behind it, and it was being produced by a company who had multiple heavy hitters over the years with the Elder Scrolls games and the Fallout games. This could have effectively decimated the No Man's Sky player count come launch. It was space exploration, like No Man's Sky, but with the added RPG elements from Bethesda, and they tend to be pretty damn good. And it had been dubbed by some as No Man's Skyrim. But when Starfield was eventually released upon the world, almost the exact opposite to what was expected actually happened. People jumped into Starfield, and a lot of people quickly jumped out after realising it wasn't what they expected at all. Some people got bored of it, myself included, and some people just thought it was an empty universe of nothingness with a bang average storyline. Now, here you'd think, people may just move on to another game, but in fact, people jumped from Starfield and into No Man's Sky because they wanted space exploration. The player count for No Man's Sky skyrocketed yet again, thus revealing that if you want a space exploration game, No Man's Sky can now widely be seen as the pinnacle, even with its colourful and not so realistic art choices. But that's what makes it great. It stands out and outperforms all other space exploration games in my humble opinion. Now we're at present day in 2024 and we've already had an update this year. The Omega update. Granted, it's not the biggest update, but it's still an update. We've also been teased a long overdue overhaul to the space stations in the game, and this has yet to be released, so it's safe to say there will absolutely be more content updates for No Man's Sky this year. What the future holds beyond 2024 is anyone's guess, especially as Hello Games have released the initial trailer for their next major game, Light No Fire. This will no doubt have an effect on No Man's Sky, but as of the last few weeks, they are hiring more staff, so who's to say they won't keep updating No Man's Sky for years to come. The game now has mostly positive reviews all over the place, and huge credit has to be given to Hello Games for not abandoning the players and running away with the money, but instead doing the impossible and bringing No Man's Sky back from an early grave. The game is now in fact beyond what they originally promised before their initial release, and to this day the No Man's Sky community is absolutely thriving. People are sharing their discoveries and creations all over the place, and the signs are the game isn't slowing down anytime soon. They really turned their fortunes around, and No Man's Sky can go head to head with any space exploration game out there. So as I said, Hello Games did indeed save themselves from the impossible, so instead of everyone hating them and boycotting their future releases, everyone now in fact thinks the exact opposite, and for any future releases, even if the game at launch isn't totally up to scratch, everyone knows they can be trusted and we can count on them to make it the game they always wanted it to be. So now that I've gone over all of that, I want to hear your thoughts on No Man's Sky's comeback. Are you a day one player? Did you play it initially and then come back to it years later, or did you pick it up after seeing all of the updates? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're still here, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. You can now also become a channel member as well, and as always, thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you in the next one.